Hello and welcome to CTO Coffee Hour. I'm your host, Matt Lee with Schematical, and with me as always is Dominic DeMarco. How you doing, Dom?
Happy Tuesday. 7 p.m. Perfect time for coffee.
Yep, and a Diet Dr. Pepper.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Today we're talking about a couple things, but the volatile state of software engineer hiring I talked about a little while ago. And so I thought it would be worth it to go over this one in some detail. And let's see, I had the chart right here. Where'd it go? Lovely.
It's one of your 1,000 tabs. It's hiding.
It must be. It must be. Very professional here. So the is an interesting thing. I unfortunately doom scroll a subreddit called Economy Charts, and I try to limit it to like once a week. But r/economy charts, it's
Oh, I can imagine. I haven't heard of that subreddit yet, but I can imagine that the amateur statisticians out there can slice and dice data any number of different ways. I mean,
it's bad.
it's kind
Sometimes.
of like you take and you mess with the x-axis and it looks like the sky is falling, sort of stuff.
Well, and it's bad sometimes. There are some people that are really trying to spin stories by zooming in or zooming out and all that stuff. But as a guy who stares at analytics like for servers all day and infrastructure, and I look at CPU usage, network throughput, it all tells a story. So I find it fascinating. If they don't have a source, though, then I kind of and the good news is they call each other out on it. Like people will just be like, yeah, this guy's clearly spinning a story here. So I do read some of the comments to be like, is this at all applicable or not? But I found an interesting one on software developer job postings on Indeed, which we're going to circle around in a minute. But this isn't. There's many different
Okay.
ways.
I can already poke holes in that, but I'll let
Okay,
you
I'll say there's
finish.
many different ways to measure the health of this, but I found this one to be interesting. Well, let me start zoomed in before I share real quick. Um, so looking at this, basically in 2025 and whatnot, you can see that jobs are trending upwards a little bit here, which is nice to see, considering AI was supposed to steal all our jobs a little while ago. So now, feel free to poke holes in this before I go to my next zoomed out data point here.
So this is software development jobs posting on Indeed.
Indeed,
And
specifically, and for
I
those in the
am
audio
going to
version,
poke holes in this simply because I thoroughly believe that half the job postings out there are fake. A, to make HR feel as though they're a critically important component of any business and look how busy I am. And B, just to maintain a stack of resumes when and if somebody is looking to fill a role.
ghost jobs.
Yes, 100%. Well,
Absolutely.
50%.
Now, those exist. The question is to what scale. So this is interesting.
And I think that should be illegal, honestly. If you're not actively hiring to put it out there, you're actually consuming somebody else's time, energy, and resources, which, I mean, you could say that amounts to theft in a certain degree. But that's not the topic of today. But I think ghost jobs do the entire economy and the job seeker a disservice, a huge disservice.
Fair enough. I have no idea how you'd police that, but
No, true.
fair enough. So let's zoom out to 1 year. By the way, for those of you in the audio only version, this thing is going up and to the right as you would want your, income to look like, or your startup. So it's you'd be happy looking at this job numbers if they were real. Let's zoom out a little bit further. So 1 year, similar trend, a little more volatile. They really dropped off in May of 2025. But if I zoom out to max, it gets real interesting.
Wow, that looks like like the topographical map from, let's say, from Denver to Grand Junction, Colorado, goes all the way up to the top and comes all the way back down.
Yeah. So if we go back, this goes back all the way to, let's call it March of 2020.
And I haven't seen this before. This is the first time I'm looking at this.
Yeah, so March of 2020 is basically where 100% employment's defined by this graph. So
that's percentage employment, or that's number of jobs available listed on Indeed?
It's based on this one. It is the. So I don't have the exact number here. Where did it go? I had the keys. So I know what I think it is, but I don't want to say that if no, I'm wrong. You got me double second guessing myself here.
So I think
But
that's the number of job postings on Indeed, like it says on the title.
say unit seasonally adjusted. Well, basically, that's great because 100 is our baseline then. So again, that's 100%, but it drops down here in right over 60 to 50, 64, 65.
Well, that's the .com bubble right there.
Well, that's COVID. That's what it is. I was trying not to say that word, but yeah.
That's 2020. You're saying?
Yeah, it's
right?
2020.
Okay,
Yeah, let me zoom
I
in
can't
for
see
you a
the
little
scale.
bit. Yeah,
from
yeah.
There you
Let
go.
me zoom in a little bit better.
I thought that was 2000.
No. So this is right before that. Everything hit the fan there back in March of 2020, and you could see the steep drop off. But then by February 8th, 2021, we were back to 100%, back to our baseline. From there, it shot to the moon up until somewhere in late 2021, it kind of levels out there around 2022. And then June 13th, June 2022, we go from basically 200%, 217% of what our baseline was down to by April 2020, April 9th, 2023, we were back to about 100% of our baseline was. And then we just dipped down slowly, ever so slowly, down to back to the 60s. So basically, we were at pandemic level of employment for software engineers, or at least job postings. So again, I don't know how accurate this thing would be, but it's very fascinating. So I wonder how many of these actually ended up being gainfully employed. We probably should look that one up to see and overlay that with this one, because that would really be an interesting
So is this the huge, we can hypothesize. So let's hypothesize. That is the surge. That's the AI surge. That was the everybody arming up to build their models to jump on the AI hype train. Is that reasonable in your guess?
I wouldn't have thought that would have happened until later. People weren't. So let me just pull up in a different tab here when different GPT models were released, and we'll use that as kind of a heuristic. Is that the word I'm looking for? As kind of what we could do. So chat.
Well, when did we do drawn by?
GPT
Because that was when that was when the hype train was going vertical.
Dates. Off the top of my head, I don't quite remember. Here we go. I'm putting this back over here.
I'll take a look.
Go. All right. So 2018 GPT-1, not that impressive. 2019 GPT-2, 2020 GPT-3, 2022 2023 was when GPT-4 dropped. And that was still pretty mediocre at coding. Wow, that's out of date. But so we go back over here. Okay,
drawn by was 2023.
Okay, March 14th, 2023. So we had, so that would be right here. So we were at 100%. So this is an interesting theory. We were at 100% employment off of our baseline there on March 2023. And then ChatGPT 4 dropped, which personally I didn't think was a great coder. And then these numbers started to drop off there. But I'm not seeing anything for, maybe this is when ChatGPT 5 dropped, is right here in January 2025. Let's see if I can get that number for us. What are these all out of date here? It's really old images here. Someone. No, these are just really old images. None of them actually even are aware it exists. According to, oh God. So, okay, so Expected and predicted for 2025. This is why you can't trust these LLMs. ChatGPT 5 is expected in 2025. Okay. So yeah, we're well past that.
Well, anyway, so let's go back to that chart. So what's your hypothesis to this? And this is job postings. This is not job hirings. This is not people gainfully employed.
Well,
Is this everybody getting on the hype train? And then, okay, now what are we looking at here? We're looking at 1
was
year.
looking more at the shorter term gain here. This is when the chart was handed to me before I zoomed out. I looked at this trend here, which if you zoom out to that massive range, it's absolutely useless. But the good news is we're going from 60% to 70% job postings theoretically. Now those all could be AI ghost jobs. We don't know. But I was
I mean, first of all, that's not a huge change. That's well, I mean, 12% ish, you know, maybe less than that, more like 8%. So 60 to 70. Is this people saying AI is not living up to the expectation? We need people back. Now, this is something that we've talked about, or maybe I've talked about a couple times, that whenever there's a big paradigm shift in software engineering, everybody says, okay, we're not going to need as many software developers, but people just kind of move up the stack or move to different places in the stack. The bottlenecks that used to be, I mean, go all the way back, you know, in the beginnings of, you know, front-end JavaScript development, you were coding every last piece of JavaScript, you know, and then tools came out to make that faster, easier, frameworks came out, et cetera. So people just moved to the more complex parts of the stack. And this is, you know, AI, okay, granted, it's a different thing entirely. But for example, we just talked to one of our friends last Friday, Juan, and he's using AI to do all of his scaffolding code, but still doing the complex code. So is this just another shift in that saying, okay, oh, we don't need as many. Oh, we just changed where we need them to still accomplish what we need to do.
I've got a slightly different take on this one. I'm going to riff up what you're going with right now. So I'm listening to the autobiography of John Romero. He's, you know, as you know, I'm publishing a game right now, and John Romero, you may not know, is a famous game designer, developer, publisher, programmer. And they lived in they came up in the early 90s. I think we're like 92, 93 right now. But and they had to code everything from scratch. A lot of it was actually machine level code. And I look at, you know, then they've invented like some of the first game engines, and they licensed them out to other companies. So when you've got an engine, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so you can use that. So you can spend your time on higher level tasks in some capacity. And so I think that is likely to happen. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think looking at this data and just from what the conversations I've been having with people in our industry is at the bottom, the market's falling out pretty hard. So that means that junior developers are having trouble breaking into jobs, but but it's empowering super developers like Juan. Say that again?
I mean, it's always been true to break in. I mean, you gotta get lucky. I mean, I even look back to, you know, the mid 2000s, like 2024, 2025, when I was writing Java code. I was writing JSON before JSON was a thing. I had to go back and forth write every little channel, every little request. And, you know, once the JavaScript JSON libraries came out, it's faster and easier to do that. It just moves around. To your point, game engines, you used to have to write the engine. Now the engine exists, and you're now relying upon that engine, but you're now writing much more complex code within your gameplay.
Yeah, so it allows people to move faster and do things that weren't before possible. So where the effort is needed is moved around in some capacity. Yes. And we could say needed, you know, I'm talking about a game engine. We don't need game engine. So just because a job, you know, doing something that is 100%, you know, low on the Maslow hierarchy of needs, like bringing people water is no longer, we don't need people to carry buckets of water to the village anymore. We got pipes. It allows people to do more interesting and creative endeavors, you know, so that are higher up on the hierarchy.
Well, I mean that goes all the way back to the Industrial Revolution, right? That you keep on moving up and moving up. You didn't need as many horses anymore, but you needed a lot more car mechanics. Yeah, you know, people just move around and assume more complexity over time. You know, we don't need pizza box servers anymore, and you don't need a system administrator because you've got AWS or you know, Google
cloud or, Azure, whatever, Microsoft's product is. And it's called improvement, and everybody would say, yes, it is improvement, but, somebody is always going to be left behind in that as well. The horse trainers were left behind. The system administrators have largely been left behind. Now they're cloud administrators, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, but I'm going to give you a pushback on it. If you were the
Please.
world's best horse trainer, and you were training the king's horses or whatever, there still are horses. I know people with horses. They still need horse trainers. Now, you don't need as many of them, but it's the ones that were kind of mid-level or low-level or generic, that they would probably need to change or adapt, and this is kind of goes to the paradigm. I think they had in the Willy Wonka movie where he went from working on the line and he was going to get replaced with a robot, and then he became the robot technician. So I'm hoping we'll see that in the same way there were elevator operators, and then the guy with the bellhop thing, staying in the elevator, pushing the button, and then hopefully, if I was him, I'd be like, okay, I'm either going to move on to a different job, or I'm going to figure out how to become the maintenance guy for this, the engineer that builds elevators, something like that. If I was really passionate about elevators, so that's a suggestion there, I guess. But you're right. It's going to leave some people behind if they refuse to adapt, or if they cannot adapt.
Well, we're going to see this. It's just starting to happen now. Robotics, full self-driving, these other technologies that have been 10 years away for 10 years and 10 years and 10 years, right? But it's not going to happen soon. And by soon, I mean the next 5 to 10 years. But we are going to see self-driving trucks, for example. Truck driving is one of the largest professions for uncollege educated males in the United States. Now, driving a truck around New York City or Chicago, okay, that's still going to be the realm of people. But driving a truck from Salt Lake City to Denver down I-70 is going to be a different story altogether when you've got a straight shot. That's going to be a huge paradigm shift, is as big as horses to cars, right? Insofar as the number of people employed in each field. Many of those truck drivers are going to be left behind. They're going to have to take some sort of form of most likely lesser paid work. However, the people that are maintaining those trucks and doing other things are going to make significantly more. So paradigm shifts always hurt those that are the least adaptable.
Yeah. I'm not going to beef with truckers. I know they're a tough breed, and I think the unions will have something to say about it before they get there. But I understand what you're saying is a general trend.
I mean, what are we in the 1950s again? The unions are weaker than they've been in generations. They should come back. Yes, we should push back against them, absolutely. But unions are going to stand in the way of progress. Now, we can completely go off the rails on this one and say, well, people should have their jobs. Well, if that makes the entire economy less competitive over time, the unions are actually being detrimental.
I thought you were going to say you weren't going to make this political today.
Well, I didn't mention any parties in particular, but trust me, I've had I have my love and hate relationship with the union through several life experiences.
I got you. I'm just going to say I think truckers are a tough breed, a resilient breed, and that they're the backbone of our economy. But I think they're not going to go down without a fight. Now I'm going to switch subjects though, because we're running a little low on time, and I had another take I wanted to go with.
Please.
So my theory on the AI replacing, we're going to lay off these guys because we're replacing with AI. You and I both, as far as I know, don't think that it's going to be that crazy revolutionary thing where you can just lay off all your engineers. Maybe you don't need to hire as many. Maybe you lay off the crappy ones, but you still need top level engineers to really make it work and to oversee it and all that stuff, right? So when I see these layoffs, I wonder if, and I guess this is economy, not political, if a lot of these companies are hurting, and they're just using AI as an excuse to dump, layoffs. Because imagine 10 years ago, layoffs, your stock would drop. But if you tell them we're laying off people because we don't need them anymore, keeps the stock price up. People aren't as so. I think we're seeing an area where
if you had stronger unions, that wouldn't happen.
I don't. Is there a programmer union? Because I'm unaware of it, but But you get,
there might be inside some of the FANG sort of companies, but I don't know if there's a national programmers union.
okay. Well, again, one way or the other, I think we're seeing these companies do layoffs and try to hide it underneath the guise of AI is improving our bottom line so much. But then I look at the private equity, private credit sector right now, and some of the they used AI to give out loans that are just. But I mean, they also didn't. They just regularly use the regular traditional ways to give out loans that are they're not likely to get paid back right now. So we're in fascinating times there. But that was my gut reaction to the drop so fast, was that we're just in a cycle, normal economic cycle, and AI will improve productivity the same way the internet did or Excel spreadsheets did, but it's not like it's going to replace all programmers tomorrow or anytime soon.
jQuery did not destroy JavaScript developers; it just let them do more interesting things.
Yeah, I will say I don't think programming is going to look anything like it does now in 10 years. But imagine if you were like in the early 90s and someone was like, you got to make it mobilely responsive. Like, what? Like, for a device that's going to be in your pocket. Okay, cool. That can talk to somebody else. Wait, it's in your pocket. How's it, It's not like it's sci-fi. Like, we knew radios existed back in the 90s, but we didn't understand that every device was going to be wired together instantly in perpetuity at that point. So I think we'll see a lot of changes, but I think some of this is being hyped. I think a lot of it's being hyped.
It's natural evolution, and let's be honest, the career as a software engineer, now granted, it's been around since the 60s in some respect, but only really became a dominant career, let's say, in the 90s with the advent of the internet, right? That's when it really became mainstream, because before that, people were writing on mainframes, people were writing for toaster ovens, people were writing for things that the general public did not engage with. But the creation of the internet created this entire new massive field of a career of computer science. Well, that is only 35-ish years ago. So this is still a very relatively young field, that every young field goes through massive evolution and frequent paradigm shifts.
Yeah, I can get behind that. It's new. It's emerging. So interesting to see where it'll go. All in all, I'm optimistic on a long enough timeline. We're going to see some volatility in here, but hang in there. If you're passionate, if you want to learn. Actually, let me wrap this up with a story. One of our frequent readers, actually the person who probably emailed me the most on the Cloud War Games, async challenges and all that, she's starting a freelance career, and she just landed her first DevOps project, and she was excited to tell us about it. So
cheers to you, by the way.
Cheers to you.
If you're out there amongst the throngs of people that are going to watch this video.
I was gonna say, it's good to know someone watches our stuff. So, all right. With that said, I'm Matt with Schematical. If you need help with your cloud infrastructure, keeping your servers up and running on AWS, I help CTOs running on AWS sleep at night by making sure their infrastructure is secure, scalable, and cost efficient. We also are working on a video game called Tech Debt. More to come on that soon. With that said,
and, I'd like to tack just a little bit onto that, as today's topic would imply, that if you're looking to upskill your engineers or know where the technology is going and want to maintain awareness of the cutting edge so you can understand paradigm shifts coming your way, you keep your ear pretty close to the ground and understand what's happening out there as well.
I do, and happy to consult on it or jump on the mailing list or whatnot. Actually, the other topic for today was going to be virtual or video retrieval of the VRAG of augmented generation there. So a mouthful, I can't even say it, but yeah, we can we'll jam on that another time since we're out of time here. So thank you, Don, for joining. Everybody have a great day.
See y'all.